everyone, welcome back. I lived. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Yesterday was absolutely insane. I think I actually lost brain cells from all of the yeah. It was almost a battle of who could out stupid each other. Literally, nobody was saying a name. It was absolute lunacy. I don't know what was going on. Basically, just like kind of maybe go through how we got to where we were. I felt a really solid connection with SV when we first met. Felt like there was good rapport. Initially, I was probably the most wary of Laura and Leah on the tribe before even Vivian was voted out. I think I covered this, but it just was kind of a mix for Leah, more of, her availability, being so busy. And then Laura, I'm remembering why I was wary of Laura actually after last night. I don't know why I couldn't put it into words for folks in the game, but I think people are starting to understand that Laura is a squirrely girly. So we, the challenge was so frustrating, the immunity challenge that we did last round, because there was absolutely no urgency. I understand that Pride was going on and everyone was busy. SV didn't have her laptop, so she was in a bind. But literally, if we had taken just 15 minutes to just get together and really strategize about what we should do, I fully believe we would have won that immunity challenge. And so, spoiler alert, it's really frustrating that immediately after this crazy vote that we just had, suddenly, Laura and Leah in particular are locked in, suddenly really concerned with winning the immunity challenge. So I just think it's convenient and a little bit annoying, but with all due respect, their asses are on the line. So of course they're going to want to win. I maybe went a little bit overboard with just my blase attitude toward everything with this round's challenge, but we'll get to that. I'm getting ahead of myself. The vote. So, like I said, nobody was really saying a name. And I think by that I mean that people were not saying names to people that they didn't have trust in voting with them, maybe to some extent, because, for instance, I was talking pretty openly with Doom and even Banjo after the vote, and then I love Celestia, but God, I feel like, ugh, I'm not even going to talk about it here because there are people in that game in the viewers lounge. But anyway, Celestia is spread thin. She's busy bee. She's not around as much as some of these girls. So we just got to get her to a point where she can lock in with me, because Mama, I need you. I need my ride or die, because that's really what Celestia is right now. I think I've got some great, like, fantastic other options, and I really love what I'm cultivating with Banjo, and I'm so pleasantly surprised by how in sync Doomslayer and I have been in this game. But I really need my girl Celestia to just be around, because one thing about me, girls, I am known to spiral. And so, with my homegirl Ochette being miles away on Kaled, I don't have anybody to spiral with. So I don't know if she's spiraling. She's spiraling with Steve. Perhaps that could be a thing. Um, anyway, I tend to be a very anxious person. So even in the most certain of votes, which I think initially it seemed like it was potentially shaping up to be a fairly straightforward vote, my love language is talking about it. Like, I want my allies to, like, walk through it with me and reassure me. And I just don't know that Banjo and Celestia in her current state are going to be the kind of folks to do that. So I'm going to need to get used to maybe waiting for replies because I am constantly on Discord. So I am always responding, always yapping. And they have stuff where they are booked and busy and their eyes are not on the screen. All of that's to say, I think one thing that's kind of worked against Celestia is her sleep schedule. So SV was up and kind of sniffing around, wanting to lock in a plan, but she also wasn't saying any names. And so it was just a little bit annoying because, it's almost like somebody's baiting you to say a name, but they won't say a name themselves. And I know SV really wanted to work and do like a girls thing, which for the reasons that I've laid out multiple times, that was not going to be an option for me. And perhaps one of the areas where I need to work on my game is being a little bit more upfront with people that I enjoy about my real feelings. For instance, SV would not shut up about Leah. Like, I think I get it now because Leah and I have talked a little since the vote, and what I think is that they became close because they were sending voice memos back and forth. And I think that that's a fairly easy way to endear yourself, as opposed to text. So I know SV sent me a lot of video messages. I know she sent Celestia a lot of video messages. I don't think she sent Laura a lot, but Laura's a yapper. So I can see how Leah being less available but able to communicate with voice memos would have SV feeling a certain way. And then Benny is just super like straight man coded. And then Banjo's on invisible a lot. So sometimes if you're not reaching out to him, you're not going to catch him. I think that's something that's hopefully getting a little better as we get closer, but that's just something that I've noticed about him. So I can totally see from SV's perspective why she wanted to work with the girls. But then from my perspective, I'm like, Leah, I've exchanged 500 characters with this person the entire game. Voice memos, who knew? SV also, I think, really just was snowed by Laura. Like, we said it, girls, it was so obvious that Lara Croft had the idol. But for some reason, SV just believed her that she didn't. And I think that maybe it's easy for me to say with the hindsight of having played with Lara for a season and knowing how cagey she can be. Her and Banjo both can be really effective liars. So I knew, I just could tell it had to be her. She got that fifth clue and was locked out. What else was she going to do but try to find the idol? And she did. Banjo and I were still posting. I knew that Doomslayer didn't have it because when he came around, he was ready to lock in and start searching, and that's when Banjo told him the idol's been found. It was claimed before I got it. And then thankfully Banjo filled me in afterward. But yeah, so it was just eminently obvious that Lara had the idol, and SV's sitting there like, oh, I think it's probably Doom or Celestia. And I'm like, ma'am, Celestia has been asleep since the fifth clue was uncovered. At this point, Celestia was not awake. It was earlier in the afternoon, and we all know that Celestia is a vampire. So it just was weird. Like, I was like, I don't know, girl. I don't think that that's the case. Like, who else could have it? And she just did not think it was Lara. So knowing that she had some sort of affinity for Lara, and not really trusting her because I was hearing just, I don't know. I mentioned in my last video, I think that eventually last night Celestia had mentioned to me that SV told her that she sensed a vibe shift in me, but I kind of sensed a vibe shift in SV2 in a way. She did talk about, it was so annoying. People keep calling me out as they're leaving, and I'm really not doing the most. Like, and I'm very capable of doing the most and copping to it when I do it, but I really have not led a bunch of people on in this game. Vivian calling me out was a throwback joke to season 3. Like, we're good. I think SV felt a little bit. I think she felt genuinely hurt by me, and I'm sad about that. But I think that the way they were playing was just not going to be compatible for me, unfortunately. They were just a little too fast and loose, a little bit eager to not even maybe stir the pot purposefully, but for instance, telling Laura the first round that her name was out and pretty much clinching it for Vivian to go. Um, Granted, I'm not innocent in all of that. I probably could have stopped her from doing that at that point, but I don't know. You know, she basically had it in her head, I think, that she wanted the girls to work together, but and I'm grateful for it. No steps were taken to actually make a solid group. I think she mentioned it to Leah, Celestia, and myself, but we're all just like, yeah, sure. And I'm sure Leo is also like, WTF. And I think in talking with her after last night's vote, I think that that is definitely the case because Leah and I like Leah outside of the game, but we have not been like connected at the hip in this game at all. Like I said, it's been pretty much completely text-based communication, and I just, yeah. So anyway, it's the final like 90 minutes, I think, was when I put my confessional in, and Banjo was just, not around. And when somebody's not around, you always wonder, well, are they actually around but just not talking to me? Celestia was busy doing other things. Doom was around and I think paranoying. And it's so hard to think that in a cast of all stars that there's really going to be legitimate, authentic people saying that they don't know, like, who's the vote. And I think that we gagged ourselves last night, and that was generally the case in some ways. Legitimately, the only names that I heard outside of the alliance structure that I've kind of helped to build here were Sailor Venus, who told me that she heard her name, and then Doomslayer was informed that his name was going around. So when people were asking me what I wanted to do, I told them the truth that SV is telling me her name's out. Doom is telling me that his name is out. Nobody is telling me who they want to vote for. I don't know if they were trying to bait us into saying a name and then using that against us, or hoping that one of Celestia and I would propose Doom or Banjo, and at the same time, I don't know, because Laura's been cozying up to Doom. She's tried to cozy up to Banjo. And I think that she would much rather have voted out one of Celeste or I last night. I mean, as evidenced by the actual votes. I think she sees Doom as kind of a, like, ace in the hole that she can work with. I think Doom and Banjo is similar to the alliance structure that she had in our original season with Zero and Banjo. I think that Banjo learned after the fact that Laura was kind of a shitty ally to him in Battle Royale 3, and I don't think he wants to go down that route again. I think he sees me as a much viable, trustworthy alternative, in spite of what some people might say, apparently, according to Sailor Venus. So, anyway, Banjo finally comes back, and Celestia and I are freaking out at this point because basically Banjo's gone silent. There's a chat created finally of Banjo, Doom, Celestia, and I. Banjo isn't talking in it. Celestia creates a chat with Banjo and herself and I. He's not talking in that. I'm not hearing like what the voting plan is, but just being a player in Survivor, you always think there's a plan. I knew that our plan was most likely Sailor Venus. There was some talk of potentially switching it up, but for the most part, I just figured that was how the cards were going to fall. And as much as I enjoyed getting to know Gary, I just feel like it would have been the smart call for everybody to just coalesce around that vote. And then I think I mean, there's no use. I mean, we spoiler alert, we've lost the immunity challenge now and are going to be voting somebody else out. But I know I personally would have been a lot more locked into the challenge and interested in trying to work with Laura and Leah to really make a push to win. Celestia kind of clocked the T when she was like, now we can show them the same urgency that they showed in the last immunity challenge. Um, I don't know. I don't think anyone felt comfortable though. So it's kind of wild. I guess they were banking on Banjo voting with them, which Banjo debriefed Celestia and I on separately in the last hour. Um, Banjo basically informed me that, he was going along with the girls just in case Laura would catch wind and think that she needed to play her idol. And we wanted to avoid an idol play if it was successful. But more on that in a minute. Um, Initially, I guess it was Doom, but then they slipped to Celestia, and then I guess they were going to switch to me. And then they were going to flip a coin between Celestia and me, and then they fell back onto Celestia. And so my paranoid ass is thinking, oh my gosh, what if Banjo uses this to flush Laura's idol and then stay in our good graces, but still works with like Laura and Leah? I don't know. I'm always expecting the worst. I pretty much always go into tribal thinking that it's going to be me. So it's like, well, if Banjo is lying, I don't think he would tell us Celestia. I don't know. In my mind, it made sense, okay? So deadline passes. Of course, we're the second tribe that is going to be revealed because we got third place rather than fourth in the challenge. So Kayla's vote is an easy 7-1 Sully vote. I was actually sadder than I maybe expected. I don't know. I think that it looks like the 6 over on Kaylid. I mean, barring any advantage plays, I would anticipate that the core is Ochette, Spyro, Aerith, and Steve. I don't really know much about where Carrie and Sindel stand. I'm sure that the relationships are being fostered. There's also the potential for an idol play. Apparently, it's gettable with 5 digits, which, I mean, hello, Sammy. I was not tuned into this enough, being distracted with spoons. So I finally showed up, and yeah, it's a mess. Um, so our vote comes, and Laura plays the idol on herself. And I screamed, Celestia, and I screamed, like, what the hell? So they didn't trust Banjo, but I guess they didn't feel that it was. I don't think that we really did a lot to hide the fact that it was probably going to be Sailor V. I don't know. I guess I'm kind of glad I didn't really broadcast it. In the end, Celestia told SV that she was voting for Doom, so I just was like, yeah, I guess I'll do that. There were like 2 minutes left. Like, are you kidding me? So yeah, 3 votes come up for SV, mine, Celestia's, and then Doom's. And then 3 votes come up for SV. I'm assuming the 2 stock votes were Leah and Laura. Laura was on a plane. Leah was packing. I think Gary probably used his phone to make his vote. And then the 7th vote comes back and it's SV. So that was Banjo's. And wow, it's just like, what a gift in a lot of ways. What a gift, right? Because now we're in a situation where Laura has absolutely no ammunition, seemingly. Apparently, there's a board idol that Geralt may have. I don't know. I feel like I need to hash that out. She told Doomslayer this. So, basically, yeah, we're in a situation where it's like, Laura played her idol. She wasted it. I don't, I'm like super gagged, like, that she did that. Like, I really fully anticipated that we were going to come into this round and have to dance around the potential of her playing that thing. And splitting is always nerve-wracking. So we'll see what happens if we're going to split still. I think, I don't know, depending on like what the four of us decide, I think it just depends. But yeah, SV went home. It was sad. It was kind of gaggy in the main chat, which is like, thank you, Liam, by the way, for being like, shut up in here unless it's a challenge, because that place was getting way too much town square energy. Like, stop like mingling with everybody. Like, stop using it as a loophole to mingle across tribes and flirt with each other. And so, yeah, SV did have some kind of harsh words for me, and we're just gonna go with it. I wish Gary the best. I hope that we can be friends after this, but I don't know what I was supposed to do with that whole situation. Um, I feel like he was very interested in getting information from people about what they wanted to do, but didn't really reciprocate. And I think it's hard to establish trust. And I know that the reason he probably did that with Doom is because I don't think he trusted Doom and I think he wanted Doom out. But maybe there's more that I could have done, but I do just think that the vibe last night was not it leading up to the vote. And I can't say that I don't feel like it was probably the sound strategic decision. Much love to Gary. I really, really did enjoy connecting with him as a human. I think he's infinitely interesting. And I'm sad to see him go, but the game goes on. Fast forward to this round. Like I said, I was being kind of obnoxious in the challenge. I decided to have drinks after the success, so to speak, of last night's vote. And I think Doom and Banjo were of the mind that they would, want to win. I think Celestia was busy, but I was definitely being obnoxious. And I need to watch out about that because it'll get me in trouble. But basically, I just feel like it's in our best interest to snipe one of Leah and Lara because they are now complete flight risks in what is almost definitely a swap next round. It's just, yeah, weighing the pros and cons. I don't know. Part of me feels like I want to keep Laura around, strangely, which you would think is kind of crazy after just how rogue she went last night. But I think I'm of a couple. I'm of several minds. So I think that Leah is less dialed in right now. Laura's going to be scrappier, but I think that Leah is the more connected player and will have more legs in a swap. So I guess the consideration kind of becomes it's hard because it really comes down to how things shake out in the swap. My theory is that it's going to be some sort of shuffle, that we're going to stay in these groups for the foreseeable future because I feel like Liam wants all of the loot to be found, and it just wouldn't be the way it usually works, or at least the way it worked in Battle Royale 3, was that we started out with our 3 tribes and then we swapped into 2 new tribes. And so I think that maybe that there will be a shuffle and then a swap, so to speak. I mean, it's really the same thing, but like potentially a shuffle of 666, 6, and then potentially like 10-10 later on. Who knows? And then like a merge at 16-15. But I don't know. At the same time, that's a pretty extended pre-merge. So it could just be that we have one swap. It's next, like the schedule said, and things go from there. I think that with Leah, she is more connected, like I said. Laura also, there's the benefit that she's now locked out of the board with her post count. And so she's not going to be able to get any advantages she hasn't already acquired. whereas Leah could potentially get them. Um, I think that Leah, I've probably not burned a bridge with Leah. So that I don't think I've burned any bridges, but I think that Leah's primary annoyance is directed at Celestia and Doom because she was telling me via a voice memo, which is kind of how I put the SV and Leah connection, how like it clicked that it made sense for me. She was just telling me that basically the first name that she threw out was Doom, and that Celestia took that straight to Doom, and then Doom, being Doom, confronted Leah about saying his name, and so I think that put a bad taste in Leah's mouth. Still annoying that like theoretically I almost got votes. Like I don't think that they were necessarily going out of their way to keep me or having my back because I mean I didn't have theirs, so that's fair. But I just think that there's maybe more trust to be maintained between Leah and I as opposed to Leah with Celestia and Doomslayer potentially. Banjo said that they're both mad at him and telling him he made the wrong decision. So we'll see kind of what the guys want to do. I'm really fine with whatever. I guess I really want to investigate more about whatever Doom was telling, or whatever Leah was telling Doom about this board idol. I want to do some more research because I guess in my paranoid brain there is a slight chance that it's not girl that has it. It's Laura. She has two. That's why she felt comfortable wasting an idol, and now she's gonna play another one. I don't know. It sounds crazy, I know, but I feel like in orgs my mind is incapable of not gaming out every possible situation. Um, in other news, before we do today's little tier list ranking, um, immunity results. First out was Limgrov, which was interesting. I think that Doom had a strategy to try and game it out, but people didn't take the bait that he thought they would, so it just ended up being kind of a cluster. But Limgrave, I don't know how to pronounce it. They were out first, so they're going to go to their first tribal council, so that's interesting. I kind of would have been gagged if they, had gone into this swap without having the chance to test tribal bonds, but we'll see. It's been 3 rounds, so it might be interesting, but odds are it's probably going to be straightforward, whatever they do. Personally, I don't know that I necessarily completely understand the whole invader twist. Like, are you stealing someone's vote and banking it, or I think more likely you're invading tribal. So like you attend and vote in place of the person and are probably immune, I'd imagine, from the vote. Um, so for that reason, if it's that, I was kind of hoping that Caleb would take the W because I don't really see any of them using such a power to screw me over. I don't know Aerith, Ochette, and Spyro wouldn't do it. I don't think Steve would do it because it would piss off Ochette and Aerith for no reason, and Spyro for no reason. No idea with Carrie and Sindel though. Um, but unfortunately, we were out second, and then Caleb was out third. So Caleb and oh my gosh, I'm blanking on our tribe name. What's our tribe name? Liurnia. That was so funny. Brain brace. Yes. So Caleb and Liurnia are about to be down to 5, and Palace Altus. I think I was trying to say Palo Alto. It's Altus Plateau. Okay, they're immune, so they've kind of done the reverse Limgrave because they went to the first tribal and they haven't been since. So that's an interesting rogues gallery if I've ever seen one. Um, Urbosa, Iron Mouse. Sounds like potentially Geralt is somebody that could be formidable. DK is known for being kind of all over the place. Daisy loves to switch it up. Oh, And then you've got sweet baby Jamie and Dry Bones, who's also very sweet, but very capable when he wants to be. Um, so yeah, um, I'm going to predict Sindel or Carrie out on Kaled, absent some sort of upset. And then just going to our tier list, let's discuss. So this is kind of an Easter egg for my good Judy Ware. Ware turns me on to these wonderful YouTube videos by a content creator named Fawn, and they go through and they rank Pokemon based on how girly pop they are. And so the categories are mother, girly pop, okay, looks around, and skip. So mother, self-explanatory, cream of the crop. These are my ride or dies. Girly pop means pretty amazing work. Like you're doing the thing. You're probably going to be mother someday. You're just not quite mother because mother is a hard glass ceiling to break into. Um, okay, it's kind of like, all right, we're there's something there maybe. Looks around. So I picture for looks around the confused fish from SpongeBob face. Like, what are we doing here? And then skip is, yeah, skip, like GTFO. Banjo is going to be first. I freaking adore Pat. I know that last night I put him in the B tier for that video, which would have been okay here. But he's mother. Miss Banji. Miss Banji. That is mother to me. He really came through. Really looking forward to hopefully locking in with Pat for the long run. In stepping outside of my, comfort zone of my pre-existing friendships, I feel like Pat and I are a pair that could really do damage together in kind of a Danielle Reyes, kind of Jason Guy kind of way. Not to compare myself to the great BB3 game of Danielle Reyes by any means, but I just think that Banjo and I have really compatible strategic minds and chops. And I think I've said before, it was a shame that we were on opposing sides for most of Battle Royale 3 because I think Banjo came away from the experience liking me more than half of his actual alliance of Urbosa, Lara, and Zero. Yeah, so definitely locked in with Banjo. He really came through last night. Like I said, it's a little bit of a struggle sometimes when I'm not getting the kind of instant feedback and gratification I'm like screaming into the void for from him. But I feel very solid about him, and he really came through last night. So I'm willing to go to bat for him. I'm really enjoying him here. Our rapport is top notch. Banter is great. That's mother. After Miss Banji is Miss Celestia, and that's also mother. We've got some mothering. Almost lost my girl last night. So again, I just need her to dial in because she's spread pretty thin right now. So please, bestie, come back to me. I need somebody to be my spiral friend. Yeah, like it's really hard for me to kind of even contemplate picking between these two right now. That's how dialed in I feel with them, and even with Doomslayer. And I'm really glad that it doesn't seem like I have to. I'm gonna skip myself and go to Doom. Oh, Doom. It's so hard because I want to put Ben in Mother, and I had so much fun with him last round, and he's definitely more of my pace when it comes to the like instant gratification of getting a response from him most of the time. When he's around. Whereas with Banjo and Celeste, they will step away and maybe not get back to me for an hour, and then we'll chat for a couple of lines and they'll step away again. Whereas Ben and I are pretty much constantly, DM. Ben's definitely girly pop for me though. The only reservations I have is sometimes he wants to do stuff that I'm a little bit unsure about. like he's got kind of a concept of how to use the Melina. Is that how you say it? The Melina mechanic. He wants his current. Well, for one thing, he wanted to maybe do like a Hail Mary when we thought it was going to be one of us before Banjo really locked in. He wanted to maybe use it for that, to maybe like create chaos, which I was just more focused on, like figuring out how to survive, locking down things. And then now he kind of wants to do it. The idea is to put in copy pasta and then get it trending. And I don't know that I think it's an interesting idea, but I just don't know that it's going to work. I feel like it would just be, if we all agreed to it, Banjo, Celeste, Doom, and myself, I think we'd be the only four that would do it. I don't think that other people would probably get behind it. And then I think that it would just potentially make us seem more like a tight group, which can be dangerous in this game. Um, oh, Laura, Miss Laura, we had such an interesting conversation after the vote last night. She came to me and basically said that we were being shady, but I think we were all being shady, ladies. Like, I was like, Laura, you had an idol and you didn't tell us. Like, you lied about it. And she's like, well, of course I lied about it. You all know each other. And I'm like, okay, Laura, you know. I mean, the nice thing about Laura as opposed to Leah is that we have good text banter. Um, but I'm remembering how like cagey Laura can be. Just the flashbacks of the PTSD from Battle Royale 3 that I had last night with whatever the hell Laura was trying to orchestrate was pretty crazy. Um, the fact that they landed on Celestia, I don't I don't think that I think Laura will flip on me in a heartbeat. I think there might be an option if she swaps with Doomslayer and Banjo for her to work with them because, we're trying to outpick me one another, I guess. Um, but I think that it's kind of bones for Celeste and I with Laura in a swap. I think that after we had a quasi falling out in Battle Royale 3, during the like mid to late merge, I think she definitely was interested in voting me out as retribution, and the only reason that she didn't was because Banjo, or not Banjo, Zero basically was holding her back at the final five, and then at the final four, she did ultimately go against Zero and kept me in a revote, but that was a little bit of a different case where Zero was just such a massive threat, and like she was absolutely getting third place if she went to the end with Aerith and Zero. So yeah, I think she looks around. I don't know about Leah. Leah is, I think, the smart person to maybe keep in some respects, but she's also going to be the kind of person that's more dangerous. So, say for instance, I swap in a situation with Conquer and Leah. I know she's going to immediately have Conquer because they were tight, thick as thieves during season 4. Same thing with Iron Mouse. I know that with Iron Mouse, I think I could also work with Iron Mouse, but Iron Mouse and Leah go way back. I think she'd probably be with me over Urbosa in a swap, but I'm sure that it would get tricky either way. So I'm kind of oscillating. I definitely want to find out more about this board idol that Laura apparently mentioned to Doom. Um, I just think it's important to know what we're dealing with. I don't think we're gonna have an invader this round, which is good, um, because I guess in an abundance of caution, we might have to entertain splitting the vote, but there's still a lot of round to be played. So in summation, I am Mother. I'm a gay icon. I know you all love me. I love you all too. Love my fans. This is kind of where things stand for now, but I am so excited about what's to come. I think we have one more vote here, and then it'll be interesting to see what happens next, if this is a continuation of quote unquote phase one of the game or if it's the beginning of phase two. But yeah, hugs, kisses, talk soon. Bye.